They referred to him as the Buddha of country music, a man believed to hold no grudges. But that was untrue. Now, at 92, Willie Nelson isn't spreading peace anymore. He's calling out names. 7 musicians who let him down, mocked his beliefs, or turned friendship into rivalry. Some of them were legends, some were like brothers, and one was the very last person you'd ever think he'd hate. Number 1. Garth Brooks, the artist Willie never respected. Highest on Willie Nelson's list of grievances is the person most of the world regards as a hero, Garth Brooks. The irony of it continues to confound old Nashville hands. Brooks constructed a dynasty in country music, but Willie says he killed its soul. Over in the 1990s, while Willie was still making the rounds of dusty county fairs with triggers slung over his knee, Brooks was flying across jammed arenas on wires, encompassed by pyrotechnics. To the audience, it was magic and spectacle. To Willie, it was the death of authenticity. "You can't sell struggle if you've never lived it," he told one of his bandmates after watching Garth perform Friends in low places, as if it were a Broadway act. The tension reached its breaking point one evening, in 2004, at the Country Music Hall of Fame. Garth was on stage grinning and referring to Willie as the conscience of country music. It seemed emotional on television, but in back of the stage, Willie glared at him and under his breath said, "Next time, sing it like you mean it." Those words were passed around Nashville faster than wildfire. Willie has since turned down every duet, co-stage appearance, or publicity photo shoot that included Garth. He couldn't stand what Garth had made country, plastic perfect sparkle. Number 2, Shania Twain, the queen who broke Willie's heart about country. Willie Nelson never was a fan of glitter or sparkle, but Shania Twain infuriated him. He used to make a joke that her shows resembled Vegas more than Nashville, and he wasn't joking when he spoke. To a man who spent his lifetime pursuing honesty and truth in all his lyrics, watching Shania commercialize country into a choreographed event was like seeing a friend sell their soul for sequins. Their feud started during the late 1990s when Shania's crossover singles, such as Man, I Feel Like a Woman, and That Don't Impress Me Much, totaled radio. Nashville rejoiced. Willie did not. "Country's supposed to bleed, not sparkle," he said to a sound engineer while on tour. The comment passed around fast, and before long, everyone knew how much he despised the pop country trend she spearheaded. The turning point was at the CMA Awards when Shania took Entertainer of the Year, and Willie sat a few rows back of her, stone-faced. Cameras recorded him applauding politely, but backstage he grumbled to a friend, "Entertainer, perhaps, but that ain't country." Later, Shania attempted to pass by him with a smile and handshake, but Willie nodded once and passed by. Others in the business called him arrogant. Willie referred to it as honesty. He felt she had substituted pain for choreography and truth for formulas that played on the radio. To this day, if someone brings up her name in front of Willie, he changes the subject. For a man famous for forgiving nearly everyone, Shania Twain is the one he never really forgave. Number 3. Waylon Jennings, the brother who turned his back. Of all the names on Willie Nelson's list, this one stung the most. It wasn't business, it was family. They built the outlaw country movement together. But under their friendship lay waiting the poison of jealousy. Fame began it. By the late 1970s, Waylon resented that every newspaper headline read Willie and Waylon, but never Waylon and Willie. He began to show up late at sessions, drank heavier, quibbled over credits. People close to them recalled Waylon rolling his eyes whenever someone called Willie the face of outlaw country. One night in the studio, Waylon snapped and shouted, "You're too stoned to play straight." Willie smiled but said nothing. He never forgot those words. Their friendship finally broke after a joint interview in the early 1980s. Half in jest, Waylon termed Willie a hippie in cowboy boots who lost sight of where he was from. The journalist chuckled, but Willie didn't. He walked silently away after the interview and didn't call again. They never repaired their friendship. When Waylon died in 2002, Willie didn't go to the funeral. He mailed flowers and a signed letter stating, "See you on the road somewhere." To anyone who knew him, that was both a goodbye and a confession. The hurt never mended. Number 4. Toby Keith, the patriot who crossed the line. Willie Nelson did not merely not like Toby Keith. He hated what Toby made country. Their disagreement was not about sound. It was about integrity. A guitar should never wave a flag, Willie once stated. That was his cryptic way of calling out Toby. Everybody in Nashville knew who he was talking about. Their feud began in the early 2000s, soon after Toby sang courtesy of the red, white, and blue. The anthem became hugely popular, but Willie considered it to be propaganda. Willie had agreed to sing at a veteran benefit concert in Austin to promote unity, not politics. But Toby followed him on stage, waving flags and screaming slogans, politicizing the event. Willie seethed with disgust backstage. When Toby came off stage, Willie stopped him and said, "You're using music to fight, not to heal." Toby laughed and walked away. That was the end of it. Willie refused to appear at any concert featuring Toby Keith again. Behind the scenes, he called Toby's act a commercial wrapped in camouflage. Years later, Toby sent a message through a mutual friend to say he meant no harm, but Willie ignored it. "I've met louder men," he said, "but not many emptier ones." From then on, there was a simple rule in Willie's camp. If Toby Keith was on the lineup, Willie was out. Number 5. Merle Haggard, his friend who went over the edge. When Merle fired a shot at Willie, it wasn't friendly fire. It hurt. These guys had rode the same highways, penned songs in the same crummy hotels, and helped create outlaw country side by side. But Merle remembered Willie had an ironclad memory. It started small. Merle teased in interviews that Willie's marijuana activism turned him into more of a mascot than a musician. Willie tuned out until Merle did it again on stage, with Willie within earshot. "Weed's a lazy man's crutch," Merle announced into the mic. The audience laughed. Willie did not. He just picked up his guitar, took the rest of the set, and headed to his bus. After that night, everything was different. Their proposed collaborative album disappeared. Willie's manager refused to answer Merle's calls. Supporters inquired when the two legends would collaborate again. They never did. Decades later, when Merle attempted to make amends, Willie merely commented, "Some things you don't joke about." No longer anger, just disappointment. When Merle passed in 2016, Willie referred to him as one of the greats, but he did not say one of my best friends. That silence told all. 6. Chris Christopherson, the man whose words put an end to everything. One comment from him. Could it possibly put a stop to 40 years of friendship? With Willie and Chris, it did. They'd struggled and triumphed together for years, decades. But a thoughtless sentence brought it all crashing down. It occurred at a private benefit in the mid-2000s. The crowded room was full of songwriters, reporters, and whiskey. Then Willie sang a subdued protest ballad about soldiers and farmers. Chris, buzzed and inattentive, told a handful, "Willie's become more mascot than artist." People chuckled. Willie overheard. He stiffened for an instant, then went outside, silently. His assistant called the next morning to cancel their scheduled duet. Calls were ignored from that point on. When